Shalom all, we continue our Genesis to Revelation study. Today we are on Joshua chapters 11 to 16. It deals with the distribution of the land amongst the tribes and some other points. Starting reading from Joshua chapters 11 verse 1. And it came to pass when Jabin the king of Hazor had heard of those things that he sent to Jobab king of Modan, and to the king of Shinron, and to the king of Akshaph, and to the kings that were on the north of the mountains, and of the plains south of Chinneroth, and in the valley, and in the borders of Dor on the west, and to the Canaanite on the east and on the west, and to the Amorite, and to the Hittite, and to the Perizzite, and the Jebusite in the mountains, and to the Hivites on the Hermon in the land of Mizpeh. And they went out, and they and all their host with them, much people, even as the sand that is upon the seashore in multitude, with horses and chariots very many. And when all the kings were met together, they came and pitched together at the waters of Merom to fight against Israel. And Yahweh said unto Joshua, Be not afraid because of them, for tomorrow about this time will I deliver them up all slain before Israel. For thou shalt cut their horses, basically how the horses, meaning the tendons behind their legs, and burn their chariots with fire. Verse 8. And Yahweh delivered them in the hand of Israel, who smote them and chased them unto great Zidon, and unto Mishra-Pothmaim, and unto the valley of Mizpeh eastward, and they smote them until they left them none remaining. And they smote all the souls that were therein with the edge of the sword, utterly destroying them. There was not any left to breathe, and he burnt Hazor with fire. Now, this does not mean everyone in the whole vicinity, only of those that came up to fight Israel were totally destroyed. Now, just as the kings gathered against Israel, so the devil deceives the world to gather against God's people. Revelations 12 and 9 reads, And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. So the fight between God and the devil, God's people and the devils, are many, even to the end of the present world. Revelation 16:14. For they are the spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty. Make sure you are on the right side and have the right identification and distinction marks. If you are a child of God, the dragon will be wroth with you, angry. Revelations 12:17. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God, and have the testimony of Yeshua the Messiah. Israel was outnumbered by the multitude, as the sand upon the sea, as Scripture says. Just as King Saul was in 1 Samuel chapter 13 verse 5. But the outcome was totally different between Joshua, who obeyed God, and King Saul, who did not. An important thing to note is that God instructed and Joshua carried out the total destruction of these people who came up against him. I think in every nation there are those who think they are doing good, whether an individual, small or large number of the population. They obey the laws of the nation and follow the religion of the nation. Yet in their sincere following of that religion, they were practicing things against the one true God and his ways. God, as is his custom, to put sin away from among his people, so it does not return to snare them in the future, destroyed those apparently believing good people, ones together with the bad ones of the religion. So I suggest to avoid being destroyed with the rest, you make sure you are not in the denomination that does not teach and obey all of God's commandments. Remember yesterday or the day before with Achan, one person's sin, the whole nation was punished. Collective responsibility. And it also happened when David, we will see when David numbered the people later on, his individual sin got the whole nation punished. Okay, continuing from Joshua chapters 11 verse 18. Joshua made war a long time with all those kings. There was not a city that made peace with the children of Israel, save the Hivites, the inhabitants of Gibeon. All other they took in battle. For it was of Yahweh to harden their hearts that they should come against Israel in battle, that he might destroy them utterly, and that they might have no favor, but that he might destroy them, as Yahweh commanded Moses. And at that time came Joshua and cut off the Anakims from the mountains, from Hebron, from Dibra, from Anab, and from all the mountains of Judah, and from all the mountains of Israel. Joshua destroyed them utterly with their cities. There was none of the Anakims left in the land of the children of Israel, only in Gaza, in Gath, and in Ashdod. There remained. Verse 23. So Joshua took the whole land according to all that Yahweh said unto Moses, and Joshua gave it for an inheritance unto Israel according to their divisions by their tribes, and the land rested from war. God works through his obedient people against evildoers to cleanse the land. If his people are deceived as to whom to turn the other cheek, who is their neighbor, and think learning to fight or fighting is wrong, no wonder evil governs our earth. Could a deceiver have used the words of Messiah to prevent God's people taking action against his evildoers, i.e. turn the other cheek and don't interfere with the evildoers? Whereas God hardened the hearts of those he wanted destroyed, the deceiver has softened the hearts of those who should be a tool of God. He tells them, oh, be peaceful, don't destroy everyone, turn the other cheek. The giants who snared the men in Numbers 13:33 were conquered by the children. See also Joshua chapters 15 verse 14. On to Joshua chapter 12 verse 7, starting from. And these are the kings of the country which Joshua and the children of Israel smote on this side of Jordan, on the west, from Baal-gad in the valley of Lebanon, even unto the Mount Halak, that goeth up to Seir, which Joshua gave unto the tribes of Israel for possession according to their divisions. In the mountains and in the valleys, and in the plains and in the springs, and in the wilderness, and in the south country, the Hittites, the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Now remind yourself of Exodus chapters 3 verse 8, when God told Moses he was going to take them to this land and destroy these very same people. And also why they were destroyed. You should recall it was because of their evil ways. A reminder how we got the two names of Israel and Judah, who would also become known as the northern and southern kingdoms. The division being the river Jordan, remember some 2.5 tribes stayed on one side and 9.5 tribes went on the other side. Joshua chapters 13 verse 7. Now therefore divide this land for an inheritance unto the 9 tribes, and the half tribe of Manasseh, with whom the Reubenites and the Gadites have received their inheritance, which Moses gave them beyond Jordan eastward, even as Moses the servant of Yahweh gave them. Now we shall later see some of these people were not totally destroyed or driven out of all parts of the land, and as a result Israel was snared and suffered the consequences. Reading from Judges chapters 3 verse 5. And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Moving on to Judges chapter 13, which deals with Joshua getting old and some land remaining to be conquered. Reading from verse 1. Now Joshua was old and stricken in years, and Yahweh said unto him, Thou art old and stricken in years, and there remaineth yet very much land to be possessed. This is the land that yet remaineth, all the borders of the Philistines, and all Jeshurun, from Shihol, which is before Egypt, even unto the borders of Ekron, northward, which is counted to the Canaanite. 5 laws of the Philistines, the Gezerites, and the Ashtathites, and the Eshkolonites, and the Gittites, and the Ekronites, also the Avitites. Verse 13. Nevertheless, the children of Israel expelled not the Geshurites, nor the Mashachites, but the Geshurites and the Mashachites dwelt among the Israelites until this day. Only unto the tribe of Levi he gave none inheritance, the sacrifices of Yahweh, God of Israel, made by fire after their inheritance, as he said unto them. Verse 22. Balaam, also the son of Beor, the soothsayer, did the children of Israel slay with a sword among them that were slain by them. So Balaam, who deceived them in numbers and caused them to sin, God also punished him. Chapter 14, reading from verse 3. For Moses had given the inheritance of 2 tribes and a half tribe on the other side of Jordan, but unto the Levites he gave none inheritance among them. For the children of Joseph were 2 tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim. Therefore they gave no part unto the Levites in the land, save cities to dwell in, and the dwelling with their suburbs for their cattle and for their substance. Verse 6. This is Caleb's request for inheritance. Remember, Caleb and Joshua were the only ones who brought back a good report when they went to spy out the land. Reading from verse 6, chapter 14. Then the children of Judah came unto Joshua in Gilgal, and Caleb the son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite said unto him, Thou knowest the thing that Yahweh said unto Moses, the man of God, concerning me, and thee in Kadesh Barnea. 40 years old was I when Moses the servant of Yahweh sent me with Kadesh Barnea to espy out the land, and I brought him word again as it was in mine heart. Nevertheless, my brethren that went up with me made the heart of the people melt, but I wholly followed Yahweh my God. Moses swore on that day, saying, Surely the land whereon thy feet have trodden shall be thine inheritance, and the children's forever, because thou hast wholly followed Yahweh your God. And now, behold, Yahweh hath kept me alive, as he said, these 45 years, even since Yahweh spoke his words to Moses, while the children of Israel wandered in the wilderness. And now, lo, I am this day 85 years old. As yet I am as strong this day as I was in the day that Moses sent me, as my strength was then. Even so is my strength now, for war, both to go out and to come in. Now therefore give me this mountain, whereof Yahweh spake in that day, for thou heardest in that day how the Anakims were there, and that the cities were great and fenced. If so be Yahweh will be with me, then I shall be able to drive them out, as Yahweh said. And Joshua blessed him, and gave unto Caleb the son of Jephunneh Hebron for an inheritance. Hebron therefore became the inheritance of Caleb the son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite unto this day, because that he wholly followed Yahweh God of Israel. Verse 15. And the name of Hebron before was Kirjath Hathba, which Abba was a great man among the Anakims, and the land had rest from war. Reading from chapter 15, starting at verse 1, just a couple of verses. This then was the lot of the tribe of the children of Judah by their families, even to the border of Edom, the wilderness of Zin. Southward was the uttermost part of the south coast, and their south border was from the shore of the Salt Sea, from the bay that looketh southward. From verse 8. The border went up by the valley of the son of Hinnom, onto the south side of the Jebusites. The same is Jerusalem. Verse 13. And unto Caleb the son of Jephunneh he gave a part among the children of Judah, according to the commandment of Yahweh to Joshua. And the last verse, verse 63. As for the Jebusites, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the children of Judah could not drive them out, but the Jebusites dwelt with the children of Judah at Jerusalem unto this day. King David conquered them in 2 Samuel chapters 5, verses 6 to 10. Lastly, reading another one or a couple of verses from chapter 16. The allotment for Ephraim and Manasseh, Joseph's sons. Verse 1. And the lot of the children of Joseph fell from Jordan by Jericho unto the water of Jericho on the east, to the wilderness that goeth up from Jericho throughout Mount Bethel. Verse 10. And they drove not out the Canaanites that dwelt in Gezer, but the Canaanites dwelt among the Ephraimites unto this day, and serve under tribute. So what we've had is the allotment of the land amongst the people. They still have some fighting and clearing out to do, but because it didn't clear out the people utterly or totally, led to them being snared in the future, and probably some of the problems there is today, or that occurred since. Now the city of Gaza later was conquered by a king of Egypt who gave it to Solomon. In 1 Kings chapter 9:16 it reads, For Pharaoh, king of Egypt, had gone up and taken Gaza, and burnt it with fire, and slain the Canaanites that dwelt in the city, and gave it for a present unto his daughter Solomon's wife. So I hope you're now getting the picture of the story. We are now 6 chapters in, and hopefully you're getting a bit educated in what God requires of us and who the Bible is about. Shalom, until tomorrow, God willing.